Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and it looks like the Democrats have another defector, and it seems like they're having a lot of defectors recently, as Tulsi seems to be leaving the Democratic Party. Now, I don't really agree on a lot of the things that she says, and the fact that I don't know where she's really going to be leaning to, but it seems that she is not going to want to be a part of it. Now, she kind of says exactly why she doesn't want to be part of the Democratic Party anymore and how insane the ideology is. But there's other things that I don't really agree with her on, and I'll go over that as we go through the article here. Tulsi Gabbard quits Democratic Party, citing wokeness and anti-white racism. Former U.S. House Representative Tulsi Gabbard has announced she is leaving the Democratic Party, saying the party is now driven by the elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness. Gabbard made the announcement in a 28-minute video posted to her YouTube channel, which covered an array of Democratic policies she says are destroying communities around America. I would agree with this. California is one of them. Nonetheless, I can no longer remain indebted to today's Democratic Party. It's now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue, agreed, and stoking anti-white racism, again, agreed, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms, enshrine in our Constitution, and who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police, who protect criminals at the expense of law, she said. I agree. Now, I remember somebody saying that, like, oh, well, when I mentioned that, we're going to start losing our rights and stuff once Joe Biden is office, and that is not very far from the truth. Joe Biden has been coming after our Second Amendment and our rights. He was honestly been tarnishing really badly the First Amendment, and a lot of the left have violated a lot of the Fifth Amendments, the First Amendments, and I would even say have violated the 14th Amendment, which is racism in that regard, or even sexism for that matter. So they have violated a lot of amendments, which is a huge problem, which I predicted was going to happen when he got into office. This is not really a surprise here. So yeah. At the age of 21, Gabbard began her political career with a run for Hawaii State, wanting to have a role in protecting the government. She says that at the time, she was inspired by Democrats who stood against the war in Vietnam and who fought for workers who had no voice and were exploited by wealthy landowners. Yeah, that would be true. She recognized as a Democrat, believing Republicans to be the party that protected big business and warmongering elites. Today, she says the opposite is the case, citing Democrats fervently itching the U.S. toward nuclear war. Yeah, I agree. Biden is really saying that they're really trying to push that war there, and as we said, if Trump was not going to get us into war, he was actively making good connections with Russia, and talking to Russia, and our escalation of Russia was really immensely down, and I think even Putin, for that matter, had respect for him, as well as the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, or what have you, which was a good thing. Not saying Trump liked these people necessarily, but we were in at least talks with these countries, and we were at least not in threat of an actual war, because Trump had the lay down, he had the toughness to really put his foot down against these people, and what he said he would do. That's the reason here. When we put in, I would say, people who are only emotional, then it is a problem in the fact that that we're going to cause some major issues. Now, I know I will probably be doing this in another video at some point, but there is also an article where 70% of modern women today are going to be voting liberal, or aka Democrat. And if that's the case, then you can only blame majority of the women which would be the majority, because 70% is pretty much the majority, is that they are the reason why we would get majority of the time of these very far left policies, these anti-free speech policies, because they keep voting for these very emotional type of things. Now, it's kind of understandable because women are emotional to begin with. And not every woman, obviously, is doing this. Notice how I say not every woman, and how I say that is that majority, which means it's just the majority, not really not saying that other women don't do this. That means that 30% of the women would go against this typology. But when you have these type of things coming up to play, it's kind of what we have where these things are like, okay, so who are our voters lie? Now, I will probably be making a long-term video on this other stuff later because it's kind of off topic with this, but it kind of shows on to where we are society beforehand and where we are now. But yeah, this is not really, but on all case in fairness, the Democrats are losing their voters. They're losing the black voters for that matter. And the more that the normal people are going to be seeing about the stuff that the Democrats are pushing, the more people that are going to be sidelining the Democrats and leaving the party and maybe going to independent, maybe Republican, etc., because they just do not agree with the ideology. And it's getting pretty crazy out there right now. She added that this is the most urgent and essential threat to the threat that we face. Gabbard, who served as a vice chair for the Democratic National Committee from 2013 to 2016, has always been somewhat of a maverick, my God. Unafraid to buck members of her own party and moderate enough to be frequent guests on conservative channels like Fox News. Since leaving Congress in 2021, she has adopted more conservative positions on issues like abortion and transgenderism, which is normally what it says is like normally the more older you get, the more conservative you get, which is kind of makes a little bit more sense. Most people that I would say that are more of the Democratic side are people that are not in the middle class sphere at all. They're more of the lower class, so obviously they will be asking for maybe more handouts or etc. Maybe, not all, obviously, that will be more likely to vote Democrat. And the Democrats have tried to convince the black voters that they're here for you when that's not the case at all. They're not really here for you. They just want your votes. Notice how they're allowing in one state to where people that are not part of this country who are illegal immigrants to still vote. That does not mean that they care for these illegal immigrants because they have clearly stated that they have not cared by having them coming them to their sanctuary states and not wanting to house them. So they have actually done that. The only reason why they want these people is because they want their votes. The same thing with black people. They only want the black people votes. Now notice, you're going to start noticing things coming in the midterms and coming out sometime of next year, where we'll get to see where the Democrats may start outcasting black people because they're not voting for them. Just wait and see, because it's not going to be something that is going to be very easy for them to escape. Today, Gabbard views the Democratic Party as an institution that rejects the rule of law and whose policies, like defunding the police, are responsible for escalating crime in the U.S. In her video announcement, she blasted the current federal law enforcement agencies for targeting political opponents, including concerned parents engaging their local school boards and nonviolent pro-life protesters. She also took aim at the party for trampling over the First Amendment rights of Americans. Yes, and there's another video, by the way, that will be coming out on exactly what Gavin Newsom is doing to doctors. Because it seems like a lot of people in these Democratic states are not having their actual First Amendment rights respected. And last time I said, that is really against the law. Today, Gabbard said, today's Democratic Party does not believe in our constitutionally protected right for free speech. To fostering diversity of thought and freedom of expression is the very foundation of any flourishing democracy. Democratic Party leaders don't agree. They are led by fanatical ideologues who pose a threat to our democracy because they don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in freedom of thought, freedom of religion. Because of that, they try to censor speech that they don't like, labeling it as, hey, this is misinformation, this is hate speech, this is violent speech. Yes, exactly what what is it? Not UC Davis, but it was Berkeley, where they have come out and actively attacked the Jews in particular, to where they can't speak on what they can speak of because of racism or what have you. So there is a Jew-free area, which is this in California, by the way, again, where they cannot voice their opinions. Don't you think that's a little authoritarian? Now, again, California is supposed to be this free speech, this freedom level type of area. Yeah, it's really freedom when people of a specific group, which by the way would be racism in itself, to censor a certain group of people that they can't speak on a certain area. That is what we call authoritarianism, and that is what you call anti-freedom of speech. So she's right about this. And they're working hand in glove with corporate for-profit media and big tech to smear and silence political opponents and anyone who dares to challenge their authority, their narrative, and therefore exposing their insecurities. Not too long ago, the Biden administration even tried launching their own Ministry of Truth with the objective of controlling what information we are allowed to read, hear, and say. They would determine what information... what is information, what is true, and what is not. Now their ideology is one of hate and divisiveness rather than respect and love. Aloha. And they stand diametrically opposed to traditional liberalism, which recognizes the basic goodness of people and the autonomy of the individual, supporting civil liberties, supporting a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now tell me, how can a political party that is opposed to freedom be trusted with our democracy and our God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution? They can't be. Gabbard is also on other independent-minded Democrats to join her in leaving the party. Yeah, which they probably should, because they're not really for what you guys think they're for. And by the way, the one thing I don't really like about this woman is that she's really anti-gun, and the anti-gun thing is really what's making me not want to vote for her in the first place. I mean, obviously, she would probably be better off, be a better selective than most other, I would say, Democrats, even though she's left, because, I mean, obviously she would be better in this instance, but again, it's hard pressed to really have her get my vote when she's anti-gun, and I'm not really for that at all. Well, guys, you see the truth, and the Democratic Party is really hurting. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and as always, take care.